This is Q.
Toronto police charge former radio host Jian Ghomeshi with 4 counts of sexual assault.
And as I look back at him, all of a sudden, punches start flying.
A second night of violent protest in Ferguson, Missouri, as the white officer who fatally shot an unarmed black teenager tells his side of the story. And the leaders of the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong are arrested. Hi, and welcome to Humber News. I'm Rebecca Nobrega, coming to you from our newsroom here at Humber College North Campus. Former CBC radio host Jian Ghomeshi has been granted bail after appearing in court today in Toronto. Bail has been set at $100,000, and the court ordered that he must live with his mother, stay in the province, and surrender his passport. Toronto police have laid 5 charges against Ghomeshi, 4 counts of sexual assault and 1 of choking. He was arrested earlier today after surrendering to police. The investigation into Ghomeshi started after 3 women filed complaints alleging he had been physically violent without their consent. The CBC fired him October 26. The charges come a day after he dropped his $55 million lawsuit against the public broadcaster. Tensions are still high in Ferguson, Missouri, as protesters face off with police. They're angry over the decision to not charge white officer Darren Wilson with the fatal shooting of black teenager Michael Brown. The National Guard and local officers lined the streets late last night into the early morning hours, barricading businesses to prevent more looting and rioting. The past 2 days after the grand jury's decision have been filled with both peaceful and violent protests. St. Louis Police Chief John Belmar says the reaction to the decision was more extreme than they had anticipated.
I don't think Captain Johnson or myself or any commander here really envisioned how bad last night was. I think that was a scale that fortunately is seldom seen here in this country.
Local businesses say they'll start to rebuild in the aftermath of the decision. Darren Wilson, the Ferguson police officer who shot and killed Michael Brown, has broken his silence. Here's what he had to say in an interview with ABC News yesterday.
I said, hey, come here for a minute. And that's when he turned and said, what the are you going to do about it? And slammed my door shut on me.
Slam the door shut?
Yes. I used my door to try and push him back and yell at him to get back. And again, he just pushed the door shut and just stares at me. And as I look back at him, all of a sudden, punches start flying.
And then what?
I had reached out my window with my right hand to grab onto his forearm because I was going to try and move him back and get out of the car to where I'm no longer trapped. And when I felt it, I just felt the immense power that he had. I mean, the way I've described it is it was like a 5-year-old holding on to Hulk Hogan. That's just how big this man was.
Hulk Hogan?
He was very large, very powerful man.
Here at Humber, we asked students how they feel about the Ferguson decision.
I feel that verdict kind of sets like it differentiates like whites from blacks kind of thing. It kind of puts like blacks as a minority, even though like we're supposed to be seen all equal. It kind of sets like a different boundary. It's like there's other cases where like I've seen a case where a black guy like killed a police dog and he got 35 years, but yet like a white man kills a black guy and he gets off scot-free. So I don't think that's fair.
Well, I don't think it's right. I think that just because the police officer is white and the victim was black, I feel like it's a little bit racial, and I feel like we're in 2014, and we shouldn't be still looking at that. Like, we should be beyond that at this point.
Honestly, I think like it's history repeating itself. It's really stupid. I don't know why it's taking us this far. Like, if we can get over sexual orientation, why can't we get over the fact that if a black person is killed, why can't there be a fair trial? It's stupid and it's ridiculous. I don't really see the whole point of it.
A lot of things happened in Ferguson after Mike Brown was shot, and the news didn't cover any of that stuff. Like, there's so many things that are going on, like on the other side with the police and everything blocking off highways and all that stuff. Cause I'm on Tumblr, and I see cause I follow a lot of people that are in America, and they post things daily about what's going on over there. Like, it's a whole bunch of stuff that nobody knows about.
Like, personally, I hate the fact that the news is always like, white officer killed black teen. You know what I mean? Every single time they cover the Mike Brown situation, it's white officer killed black teen. Like, why does it have to be about a white guy killing a black guy? Why can't it just be a person killing another person and it's just wrong? You know what I mean? They make it a race thing, which makes us...
Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, scuffles have erupted after police arrested 2 leaders of the pro-democracy protests and started cracking down on one of their largest camps. Thousands of police were ordered to clear a protest site that had frozen a major commercial road for 2 months. They began tearing down tents, forcing protesters off the street. The pro-democracy campaign has shaken central Hong Kong since September. In Egypt, the Court of Appeal will deliver a verdict this weekend on former President Hosni Mubarak. Mubarak is accused of ordering and killing of protesters during the 2011 uprising that ended his 30-year rule. In 2011, protesters took to the streets for 3 weeks after Mubarak said he'd stay in power for another 6 years. He was given a life sentence on June 2, 2012 for the death of more than 800 people during the demonstrations. In 2013, the appeal court ruled against his sentence and ordered a retrial. Closer to home, here at Humber, journalism students are gearing up to enter the job market this spring. A panel of grads came back to college this morning to share their real-world experiences with this year's graduating class. Jordan Burton has more.
Successful postgrads visited Humber today to give current J-School students some advice while they finish up their final year.
In order to succeed in this field, you really have to be passionate about journalism. So if you're here, then do the best that you can and try and do as much as you can before you're out of this beautiful school we call Humber, which is a great comfort zone.
In a field that's considered scarce on jobs, the panel explained how their time at Humber has prepared them against the competition.
Humber gave you all the tools and applications, the training for the applications that you need to really kind of succeed in the workplace. So a lot of the companies, especially the broadcasting ones, use the exact same applications in the real world that you use here at Humber College.
There are jobs. What you have to know is the right answers. And a big part of that is making sure you're up to date on the news, If you have a story to pitch for whichever it is, you have to know that inside and out, and not today's news, but yesterday's news, and why yesterday's news is different from today's news.
I'd say what I was looking forward to most was seeing people that had recently graduated, because it's a lot different than seeing people like, say, George Strombolopoulos, who's graduated from here, yes, of course, but he's way off in his career. He didn't start off and get a job right away. So it's nice to see that there's still hope for possibly getting a job right away.
In our shoes just a few months ago, today's postgrads were able to share their experiences exiting college and entering the working world. Before long, it will be us looking to land our first journalism gigs, and we might even be lucky enough to come back for next year's panel. Jordan Burton, Humber News.
It's time to chalk your cues. There's some intense competition going on at the Humber Game Room. It's the annual billiards tournament. Humber students are putting together their game face for the chance to win some cool prizes. For a $5 fee, students are showing off their skills either solo or in teams. Prizes include movie and restaurant gift cards and a pair of Leafs tickets to the big winner. The tournament goes on until 4 o'clock. When we come back, we'll tell you what's happening in the world of sports, and Ainsley Smith will have your 3-day forecast.
Well, it doesn't appear that winter is going to be on its way just yet, as the temperatures are going to stay relatively warm today. We'll have more of your 3-day forecast after the break.
But first, even though the holiday season is just only 4 weeks away, these Chicago shoppers are getting an early start. While mall traffic is definitely dreaded by many, some shoppers are feeling pretty optimistic.
I think this year is actually a little bit better, with the economy turning around. I think everyone's comfortable spending a little bit more.
If you're looking to get ahead without busting the bank, keep an eye on this week's Black Friday sales.